I don't know where my PTSD left off from the military, and I don't know where it started from the department. Day one in prison, you're exposed to a whole new environment. You hear alarms going off, sounds, smells, sights, blood, trauma, acts of violence. So all that is feeding into your brain, man.
Yeah, I've been researching and just checking you out on all the other podcasts.
Okay.
I see you've been putting in a lot of work.
I took it by storm, man. 11 months ago.
Yeah.
11 months ago. It's nonstop.
Right.
Nonstop.
So I'm not going to do it the usual way that you're used to because, you've already spread your story out there all over the internet. You're on a lot of podcasts.
Yeah.
But I'd like to dive really deep into the PTSD.
Excellent.
Cool, cool. All right. So can you start off by describing, some situations, some challenging situations you may have encountered during your, 15, 16 years you were in the department?
16 years.
Yeah, you're 16 years working in the California Department of Corrections.
I think when you say challenging, first things that come to mind is, having to establish myself, having to establish, my persona, my style, which is kind of ridiculous because in the end, I just ended up being myself, right? But I'm like, hey, do I have to fit a certain role? Do I have to? And as far as being a correctional officer, you can't copy somebody else's style. If somebody's a jokester, another CO, that's their style. If somebody's very strict, or that's their style. And I was trying to just gather and observe everything. And ultimately, kind of what worked for me was being myself. But I apparently myself, I'm a laid back, chill type of dude, and I didn't know if that was gonna work or not. I mean, I didn't how can I be new and laid back? When I felt like I gotta earn people's respect, and I kind of did have to earn people's respect.
Right. Right. How old were you when you joined the department?
22.
Wow.
I don't know if that made any sense, man, but what was challenging was having to establish myself, prove myself, and those days are over though.
I really understand what you're saying, because I kind of know how things work. It's just
Right.
kind of the same thing when we come into the system as inmates. I mean, you got the certain respect, but at the same time, they're all watching you, right? And they want to see
Exactly.
what you're going to do, what moves you're going to make. So I understand. Did you always feel like you wanted to be in the department?
Hit junior year in high school. The career day is, the recruiter came in, military, that the light bulb went off, and then, okay, what am I going to do afterwards? Correctional counselor. Counselor was the ultimate goal initially.
Right.
My pops was a CO at Centinela, so that was, it's a small town, and that's everybody's a CO at Calipat or Centinela.
Okay. Okay. So it's kind of a town thing. Most people go into the department from around
Right.
there. Okay. Well, how did the environment and the experiences within the department impact your mental health and overall well-being?
Oh man. So initially I didn't see it, right? I didn't see it up until like a couple years ago, man. And you would think this is what people would ask me. Hey man, how hard was war compared to being and working in a prison
Mhm.
or PTSD? And this is what used to be my answer. I don't know where my PTSD left off from the military, and I don't know where it started from the department. That used to be my answer. But
Mm.
clearly, and I've said this on before, clearly it starts on day one, man. Day one in prison, you're exposed to a whole new environment. You hear alarms going off, sounds, smells, sights, blood, trauma, acts of violence. So all that is feeding into your brain, man. All that is feeding into your brain. And on top of that, one thing I have shed light on is, how green works, how staff members conduct themselves. It's a toxic environment, man. Ain't nobody trying to see nobody win for the most part.
Right. Were
Yeah.
most of the people there like yourself, ex-military?
Not most, good 50%. And then you become callous. You become that dark sense of humor. You become desensitized.
Right.
So, I mean, you could see somebody get, murdered, come home, and you don't the one thing you don't do is tell your family members about anything. It's just you're not going to do it, not because you don't want to, not they don't need to know about it. It's not none of their business. So
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
affects the family.
Right. Right. Yeah. I know what you're talking about. The first time I seen someone killed in prison, it was shocking, but I noticed that we didn't really, you know, dwell on it and talk about it like that. So after a while, I did get desensitized, and you kind of just it was just another day, especially in high desert. We had a captain up there from he was from Pelican Bay,
Mm,
and literally, someone would get stabbed right there on the basketball court, and they'd have some, they'd come pour the stuff on the blood, clean it up a little bit, and he'd literally just resume
right,
yard.
right.
So we kind of got desensitized up there watching all the
Not
stickings.
not just the violence, the overdoses, the suicides, man. Watching people in the form that the humans shouldn't be in,
Yeah.
different colors, different, size, not to get very grotesque or anything, but they look different after a while.
Yeah, yeah, man. So it can be real traumatizing, especially when you're actually leaving the gates and going back home to freedom on the streets, but it's stuck here in your mind. It's got to be a crazy experience.
That affects you because it now I have a 5-year-old daughter right now. I don't see how I could be able to put up with it for so long and then come home and have her sit on my lap and try to hug her. It would just when minutes before I was engaged in all of that, it would just not sit right with me.
That's interesting. Yeah, I could see that. So, what were some of the specific incidents that or moments that triggered your awareness of the potential for PTSD?
One time I was working at the hospital in Brawley, guarding a inmate out there, and there was a bunch of earthquakes going on, so they medevaced the whole entire hospital. It's kind of eerie, man. It was like something out of a movie. They flew everybody from Brawley to either Palm Desert or San Diego via helicopters, and that just triggered my PTSD because as the helicopters were landing on the helo pad, that took me back to Iraq, man. When my friends got killed and medevaced out, because I had not experienced a helicopter landing down on top of me since that. The sounds, the dust, and that triggered me, man. But it's simultaneous, dude. There's just so many triggers. Blood, the color,
Right.
the texture.
How do you deal with that? When you're because I'm sure it triggers a lot of anxiety inside of you at that moment. How do you deal with that at that moment without people recognizing and knowing what you're going through?
So I'm glad you brought up the word anxiety, man, because there was a point in my time when I didn't know what anxiety was. I
Mhm.
didn't know, what the symptoms were associated with that word. Oh, I was experiencing those symptoms. It felt like I was losing my mind, man. It felt like I was going crazy. I
Yeah.
couldn't breathe, the heart rate, the stomach, and it's like, I got to get out of here, like what's going on? But, to tell you the truth, as bad as I was at Donovan, man. I was at Donovan before I left. I did 8 years at Centinela and then 8 years at Donovan. And to tell you the truth, all that spike starts when you're at home. When you're at home and you put your boots on, you put your uniform on, and you start thinking about work. And I know this because other people have told me. And then you drive through those gates, and your mind, your body does what it does, and it just turns up. That's why the lifespan for a CO is guaranteed to be either 3 to 5 years afterwards, because your heart just gives out from 20 years, 25 years of doing that.
That's interesting. You said that. My father, I told you in an earlier conversation, my dad was actually a correction officer as well for well over 20 something
Ooh,
years. And he suffered 2 heart attacks.
ooh.
Yeah, one while he was working there, and then one afterwards. But man, yeah, it really took a toll on him. He was in the military as well, and so I got to see that firsthand.
Yeah,
What you're
sorry,
talking about.
sorry to hear that, but that is so common, man. I watched an officer die of a heart attack at work when I was a CO at Centinela in the visiting room, in the front of the visiting processing when visiting was over.
Wow.
Just
Yeah,
dropped dead.
yeah, man. See, a lot of people won't really understand or even have knowledge about that or know about that, what COs go through working in a prison, the high stress environment, what it causes on their body, and everything. So,
And
man,
not just COs, man. I've been talking to a lot of formerly incarcerated individuals, and PTSD. This is what I'm huge on. I'm huge on shedding light on PTSD. You didn't have to go to war to have post traumatic stress disorder, and I'm saying that now. And a lot of those individuals do have it, and they feel better opening up about it. Because one time at Bravo Yard Centinela, an inmate got off the bus R&R, and as soon as he walked onto the gate, the dude dropped dead of a heart attack, man. And that was an inmate, fairly middle aged, and you can only probably just imagine that it just spiked up.
Right. Yeah, I'm surprised I didn't have a damn heart attack in there. All the
Yeah,
stress, especially all the salty noodles and everything, the bad
ramen.
diet.
Facts, facts.
Yeah, definitely. Man, that's crazy to hear that. Just that I mean, I didn't ever see no one fall out of a heart attack, but I've seen people die from, like getting stabbed or even pneumonia or drug
Right.
overdoses. Yeah.
And then
But
you talked about the bad diet, the ramen, that goes both ways. Out here, if you're a CO, people self-medicate with alcohol. Some individuals use drugs, man. Some peace officers use drugs just to keep it real. You're not supposed to, of course. They drug
right.
test you. Eating habits are horrible. Obesity. I'm sure you've seen a lot of heavy COs, man.
Yes, sir.
So it's just all that negativity, man. It's all that toxic,
Right.
feeding
Right.
into it.
Yeah, I wouldn't have known that actually, just sitting there and watching the COs every day come in and go home. Not
Right.
I wouldn't have realized that they were really going through that. The obesity and everything was actually a sign
You
of
know,
them going through it.
You know why though, man? Is because we put up a front, right? We put up a front, and showing weakness in prison will get you got. And that goes the same, man. We understand what type of environment it is, and that's another reason why if I felt the need to leave because I was suffering. I'll be honest with you, man. I was hurting. Like I could no longer put on that front because I was a lieutenant, so I couldn't put on that front for my lower and for the officers and the sergeants, man. It was not going to be effective, and I learned that from the military.
Right, man. Well, how about this? Can you share what it's like to work there as far as high stress environment, and could you elaborate like on the daily stressors and the potential traumas that staff can face during their time there?
Well, believe it or not, man, the biggest problems are staff. The biggest problem is administration. You're going to hear this time and time again if you have not already heard this. The problems are not the inmates. The problem is staff. They will get the worst of you.
Mm,
Your higher ups, your peers, um, the toxic, the rumors, the gossip, the sabotaging, the literally sabotaging. Man, it is grimy, and as far as inmate violence, okay, that's always a potential. Um, there's like what that no hostage policy, which is kind of sketchy and scary at the same time, knowing that hey,
yeah.
if we're taking hostage, they will the department will not negotiate for your release, and I can see why that's a thing because they would be getting taken hostage all the time. Um, so that's a possibility. Getting stabbed is a possibility. We wear our vest, and unless you want to go in there oblivious, which I don't recommend, like I would always try to be on point, take boxing classes or whatever I possibly could do to just survive my life, just that extra more seconds or minutes till the help gets there.
To stay ready.
Correct. Yeah. But the whole constant, as I would walk, I would look over my right shoulder, and I'm sure you know the way to do it too. Not where you're scared and scanning around, but you get used to like having 360-degree vision, man,
Yes,
without
sir.
making it look obvious. That takes a toll on you, and I realized that when I left the prison because I'm like, oh, I don't have to do that no more, man.
Do you? I still do.
Not to that degree. I let it go a lot, which is beneficial because I was tired, bro, because I did
Yeah.
20 years combined, military and corrections. And I'm telling you, man, being on your P's and Q's, on your toes, constant, just too much, man. It's a lot. And the bad thing about being a Centinela, man, knowing the inmate politics, there's a lot of Southsiders down there, and I don't want to dive into too much politics, but if you mess with one, you're gonna get the whole bunch. And
Right.
that thought was always in my head, man. I'm about to get swarmed. We're about to get swarmed, by 100, by 200. That's when they were, when everybody was still in prison
Hmm.
on the yards.
Yeah. You were saying like, how you kind of let it all go. That's interesting. I myself struggle with PTSD. I still, feel like I need my back against the wall when I go into restaurants. I can't tell you how many, outings with the family I ruined because of my PTSD, because of just, not wanting to be around big crowds and things like that. For you, what were the coping mechanisms or strategies that you employed to manage the stress and the trauma associated with the jobs?
Cool. So check this out, man. I still sit with my back against the wall watching everything, right? And I'm still, I don't know, I did a little thumbs up, but I still do all that, man. I guess what I meant to say is like, if I hear like a scuffling of like feet, like before I would, be like, don't get me wrong, my wife would probably still tell you that I'm on, I'm on one all the time. But, you know, um, one thing I learned at the VA hospital, okay. So I've done treatment since 2010. Um, it's not that we're crazy, that I'm crazy. It's that our brain is actually a very intelligent thing, man. Everything we learned was a defense survival mechanism, right? So our brain just got rewired. It's kind of crazy because the brain gets rewired. Then you have the reptile part of the brain. So I remember the lady told me one time, "Hey, you're gonna have to start sitting with your back against the restaurant." And I'm like, "Oh no, I'm not gonna do that." And I told her too, man, if I get got from behind, I'm gonna be highly upset at you, man. But ultimately, the goal is to rewire your brain, as in do habits, continue to, do what you don't want to do or what you feel sucks. And then, the more times that nothing happens, the theory is that you should get better.
Yeah.
And it kind of works.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because that's pretty much what I practice as well. I haven't gone to see no psych or anything like that, but putting myself in uncomfortable situations is helping me to kind of
So
de-escalate that.
So there might be some stigma on mental health or whatever, psychs, but let me tell you, man, I've sought treatment from every professional mental health, from the EAP hotline that they give us as correctional officers, the Veterans Crisis Line, which you call when you're on the verge of a damn crisis. Called that one about 4 times, and then from the college students that are going through their studies, and I've let them get a crack at me, like, hey man, here, I'm a good guinea pig for you. But I've also done whatever it's called, EMDR, the eye movement, and that works, man. If you want to research that, what that works, it's basically they get their finger or a light, and that you have to relive the story of a traumatic event.
Hmm.
And what it does is they make your eyes like flicker. I don't know the whole thing, but it, like I said, it rewires it, man. You're retelling the story in your brain to make it, to accept it. And that all that is all medical and scientific, man. That's the
Hmm.
thing. Earlier we started the conversation with saying that people like us listen only to other people like us.
Right.
And when I came back from Iraq, I didn't want to seek help for two reasons. One, because I was trying to pursue law enforcement. I didn't want nothing bad in my file, no bad paperwork. And number two is I used to say, how is an old man or lady going to tell me what to do when they never killed nobody, when they never seen their friends die, when they never went through what I went through? And that's not the point. The point is that they know the brain, and they study this. They know exactly how it works and
Right.
what is going on. So yeah, I'm huge on reaching out for help and encouraging people to reach out for help.
Yeah, you mentioned that the department also offers things like that for you guys.
They do, man, and it's mixed. I've heard a lot of bad stories from people saying that they let them down or weren't there for them. For me, it worked, man. They give you 7 sessions a year. You could use it for marriage counseling, for yourself.
Hmm.
It worked. I mean, any little thing works to just get you through the marathon, through
Right.
it.
Right. It sounds like you really, really suffered a lot from this PTSD from the wars and from CDC.
There was a lot of moral injuries. Moral. That goes more on top of PTSD. I don't know if you ever heard of moral injuries, but
That's interesting.
once I heard about that, I'm like, oh man. And that it goes something. For instance, for me, my whole life I thought good things happen to good people, bad things happen to bad people. I'd been taught that as a kid. Well, when I get to Iraq, one of my good friends, our medic, gets killed right in front of me, no less. That shattered my beliefs of good things happen to good people and bad things, right?
Got
That
you.
left me with a moral injury.
Got you.
Let's fast forward to corrections. Towards the end, they started mixing general population and sensitive need yards inmates, GP and SNY.
Hmm.
That is unethical. Not only that, I mean, because everybody knows what's going to happen when you mix them.
Right.
Everybody knows. And when we would voice our concerns to the higher ups, to the captains, to the associate wardens, the chiefs, the wardens, They would shut us down and shut us up and tell us, do as you're told, shut up, this and that. And but they were not the ones. They were not the ones quelling the violence. I was. I had a 40 millimeter launcher, the big Bertha, the
Hmm.
block gun. And yeah, I was there shooting these inmates, and I'm not saying this to brag or boast or anything, but that would put me in a messed up spot, man, because nobody wanted to be there. The GP guys didn't want to be there. The SNY guys didn't want to be there, and we didn't want to be there quelling the dumb. It was not cool, man. That leaves you with a moral injury
Hmm.
of
That's
being unethical.
right, right. That's interesting. Yeah, I always wondered, because in high desert, the COs that got involved with in shootings and they ended up
Yeah.
killing an inmate, they had to leave for a while and get counseling and things like that. So it really messes you guys up because I used to think, oh man, these COs, they don't give a shit about us. They're putting us in this situation. But
I've shined a lot of
mm,
light on that, man. I've shined a lot of light that the BS is not coming from the bottom. The big BS. You know what I
mm,
mean? Yeah, you're gonna have your bad apples. You're gonna have your people that don't know how to conduct themselves at the lower levels. But we check each other. I think I've shared that also. We'll check them in private. We'll never check them in front of inmates. Kind of like you guys don't check your So yeah, you guys do check your people in front of us, but yeah, that definitely happens behind closed doors, man, for putting us in a bad spot, for doing something stupid, for, you know,
I could
um,
see that.
definitely,
Yeah,
definitely. But I heard a lot of what you just said. Man, these guys don't care. They're calloused. But it's all by design, man. It's all by design. Another thing is the unity. People say, like, oh, we thought you guys were all tight. We thought you guys were all together. And it's cutthroat in there.
yeah. You were saying about how cutthroat it was between the officers. It reminds me of a situation in Solano when I was in Solano. There was a female officer who started there, and not too long after, she committed suicide in the
Ooh,
parking lot. And the rumor was, they were, like tossing her around pretty much, trying to
yeah,
get her to gain position as far as if she wanted to be a sergeant or something. So she had to do certain things. What they were
right.
using her basically. I don't know if that was true, but is that how cutthroat it is?
More than likely that was true, man. More than likely. And then you mentioned high desert.
Yeah,
It's no secret that more prisons are more known to be more violent than others. High desert by far takes the cake. Takes
yeah,
the cake, and everybody knows it, man. As far
yeah,
as violence. And
yeah.
I've never been there. I've only heard from everybody how awful that place is, man.
It's awful. I remember when we pulled up there on the Green Goose, and we pulling through the parking lot of the prison, and all I saw was pickup trucks.
Wow.
I I knew what
Yeah.
time it was when we got
Oh
there.
yeah, I hear that too, man. Yeah, bunch of white folks up there, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
that's very
It,
far north.
yeah, the N word was thrown around a lot over there by those officers.
And you come down south, and a bunch of Mexicans down on the border of Centinela, Iowa, and Calipat, man. But yeah, that's the differences in yeah.
Yeah,
So check this out. You mentioned that. Well, I don't know if you ever remember those strike teams. You probably do, where they would fly. They would send us notification. Hey, High Desert needs officers. Pelican Bay needs officers. You want to go up there for 30 days, 60 days? You remember that?
yep, I remember
We
it.
so we had some buddies go up to Pelican Bay. Same thing, man. They came down freaking upset and scared. Like, what happened? Said that those COs up there, those white dudes said, "Hey, we don't like your kind up here. Why don't you go back down south?"
Wow,
I said, bro, did he mean down south like Centinela or down south like Mexico? He's like, think like Mexico, bro.
wow. Yeah, man. So it really is cutthroat. It really is bad. I mean, it's as if you guys have your own gangs in a way and you play your own race cards and all that.
Not to the degree of yeah, yeah, you could say that. No, you could say not only race, bro, but like cities. Where I'm from, you got Brawley, Calexico, El Centro. There's a Calexico car. There's a Brawley car. You
Mm.
know, and even
Counties,
cities. And even though
cities.
I'm from Brawley, I'm like automatically lumped up into that Brawley car. But I didn't raise my hand to say, hey, I want to be part of this Brawley car. You know what I mean? It's just that you're just automatic guilty by association.
It's kind of that prison mentality on the yard. If you're white, you
Right.
run with the whites.
Correct.
Yeah. Is that by design, or is that something that the officers kind of just fall
I
into?
no, I don't think that's by design, man. I just think that's being a product of your environment, picking up
Right.
habits, picking up so then something else I talked on was you want to talk about product of your environment. Okay. We see that blue stab and kill each other. That's like the worst thing you can do. Well, there's probably something else worse, but the stabbing and the killing, right? Um, since green cannot do that because it's against the law, they will do everything but that. Character assassination,
Mm.
um, and I mentioned sabotaging, but they're grimy, man. They'll like mess with your vacation time, like go in there and manipulate paperwork to you think you have a week planned off with your family, and they go and they fudge the numbers on purpose just to laugh it off with the rest of your buddies. Um, Screw you over as far as having to work extra shifts. So instead of 8 hours, 16 hours, they do a lot of that, man. A lot of backdooring, a lot of so yeah, they're not stabbing you, but they're messing with your home life big time.
None of you guys ever, took it to the parking lot, caught a fade with each other or anything?
Those are the old days. Those are the
Yeah.
old days, man. We're in 2023 now. That I came in 2006. I didn't see it, and I'll always claim I didn't see it, but I've heard it happening. But that kind of died out, man.
Right. Right. Yeah, I was in the youth authority, and I used to see those guys, the staff there, just get down right,
That's the
right
old
behind
days.
education, right behind education. They'll step out and get down with each other, man.
It's just not. They can get down, and it has happened recently. It's just not worth it because you're gonna lose your job. You run the chance of the other person getting hurt and telling on you, ratting or something like that. There's just too many
Yeah.
variables, or somebody else talking. Right? Hey, I
Hmm.
saw so and so fight so and so. Next thing you know, everybody knows about it. Now you're both getting questioned by the
Right.
hiring authority.
Right. Let me ask you this, getting a little deeper into PTSD. How has your experience with the PTSD affected your personal life, your relationships, and your daily functioning?
I was the king of self-sabotaging. Okay. In Iraq, I had to, in my own head, tell myself I'm already dead, right? In order to function, in order to perform my duties. Because had I been scared, well, I was scared, but had I been scared to the point that I couldn't function, I would be of no use. I would be of no use to my brothers, to my right and my left. I would be terrified. Once I accepted death, it's just like, okay, cool, I'm gonna die. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I don't care. I'll go out here and just shoot back. Nothing matters anymore. The problem with that was I did not die over there. I came back, and I still had that mentality.
Mm.
So I came back. I started self medicating, man. Drugs, alcohol, heavy drugs, coke, meth. I'm being brutally honest with you. A fifth of vodka a night with a 12 pack of Coronas. I was only weighing 130 pounds at that time. A lot of self medication. And you could just imagine relationships with women. It was very toxic. I wasn't chasing the best ones, right? I was going after easy ones. I was going after toxic ones. I was going after whoever would give me the time of day. Uh, Dude, I didn't have the courage to kill myself, but I was living a life of it was going to happen. It was absolutely going to happen. The path of destruction that I was on, driving my vehicle 100 miles per hour all the time, um, challenging people to fight when I was under the influence and intoxicated, challenging the police officers to fight when I would get arrested as a result of my buffoonery and shenanigans, alcohol related incidents. Um, and my parents, I was breaking my parents' heart. I'm a parent now. One thing that I remember my dad saying was, Hector, so many people go to war and none of them came back as fucked up as you did. And I remember him saying that. That only made me feel worse.
Wow.
Now I'm not blaming him, and I understand in 2005 this was not known, man. Mental health was not known, PTSD was not known. It is now. But I had I had and I have rage. I'll be honest with you. I'm not perfect. Hell no. I have rage, man. I have moments of me losing control.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, it's not as bad as it used to be, and I've sought a lot of treatment. But once it gets there, my wife tells me I get this look in my eyes, and she hates it. She hates that look, and I hate that I get it sometimes. but I don't know how I can't stop that. Um, I've done a lot of things that I regret. I've said a lot of things that I regret. I've ruined a lot of parties, like you said, man, wanting to leave because of the anxiety. As a matter of fact, me, my in-laws, and my wife were about to go have breakfast. This was 2 months ago, and they was just taking forever, man, taking forever. And they were I felt like those waiters were not being respectful enough and professional, and I was just losing it, dude. And I said, I'm out of here, man, and I bounced. Like the anxiety. To them, it probably looks like, what the hell is wrong with Hector? Hector's freaking flipping out again. But that takes its toll, man. I've had to make amends to my wife over and over and over again for the stuff that I have caused, man. I don't drink alcohol. I hit 13 years of sobriety yesterday.
Congrats.
Thank you. I pray to God my daughter never has to see me drunk or drink a beer. She knows that I'm an alcoholic because I've explained to her that when daddy drinks, he falls down and hits his head. She understands that part. But I caused a lot of havoc, man. I caused a lot of havoc. I caused a lot of destruction, a lot of heartbreak, a lot of manipulation. I used to lie, cheat, and steal. I used to promise people the world with no intentions on delivering at all, at all. And, as they say in AA, I wasn't a bad person. I was a sick person. And so for me, substance abuse and post-traumatic stress disorder goes hand in hand. I'm a double whammy type of dude.
Man, I'm so glad that you dove in that deep, because a lot of us go through the same thing you're going through, Hector,
Right,
and a lot of us don't talk about it,
right.
you know. But this is something that needs to be said, and you're brave for saying it, and I commend you for it. I feel like when you're talking about all that, I'm looking at myself, and so of course, I've done a lot of the same things as you, except I would have probably checked the waitresses and the waiters there. You know what I mean? I probably wouldn't have been able
Right.
to walk out. So I have a temper as well. I don't drink. I don't, do drugs. I smoke
Nice.
weed here and there. But other than that, it's my anger, it's my PTSD. I go straight back into it. And that look you're talking about, my family has told me about it. They hate it.
Really?
Yeah, they said that the look, they know I'm gone. That's what that's how they explain it. Like, you're gone, you're not there, you're not you, you know.
I'm gonna tell you something, Ron. One thing I learned since I left too, man, respect. The word respect and the act of respect. In a California prison, there will be nothing like it elsewhere.
Mm.
There, especially on a level 4 yard, level 4 GP, that the respect is, thank you, excuse me,
Yeah,
please. And I've heard this on other people's channels, and they talk. I'm like, oh yeah, that's true, man. And you come here out into society and civilization, and everybody is just disrespectful, out of control, out of line. Um, and that I'm sure that's a trigger for you because that's a trigger for me, big time.
yes, big time. Respect is a big. I just did a piece on that, going to Hawaii. Just going out there, I just didn't feel the respect coming. And you expect that in Hawaii, like, them
Right.
to be a certain way, kind and everything. But it wasn't like that there. And my PTSD was just going through. I was ready to fight in Hawaii.
like, like I don't even think they realize what they're doing or what they're not doing, man. One thing that irks me crazy when two people are talking and somebody walks in the middle. Like I never even walked into the middle of two inmates talking. I would either say, "Excuse me," right, if I had to walk through the middle. But when somebody walks, I'll like stare them down, and or if they come up too close to me, man, I would just not giving you your personal space. That's
Yeah.
a freaking trigger. I literally mad dog them, and then they'll say, "Oh, excuse me,
Yep.
you don't get up out of here, man." But
Yeah, man. And I just, like you said, I just don't know, it happens. You don't control it. That's something that I really, really want to figure out. I've noticed, like, certain things. I'm starting to recognize red flags within myself,
mhm.
before I go that distant stare.
One thing first is identifying your triggers. Okay, identify your triggers. This triggers me. This triggers me. Okay, then if I'm gonna go to Hawaii, right? Like example, okay, these are the potential triggers. Probably thinking of a game plan. All right, if this happens, what am I gonna do? That way, you're not getting caught off guard, and or you're able to recognize the triggers. Let me tell you something that I learned at the VA, man. Let's say you have car keys in your hand. It's called grounding. When you're experiencing that and you're like revved up, you just touch something and you ground yourself. Like, okay, I'm back in San Diego. I'm back in your head. I'm back in San Diego. Right. And you're grounding yourself and it's bringing you back to reality. I've done that too. Reach for my car keys, or my pocket and just feel something, texture. That's what I learned.
Yeah, I'd have to try that. I know there's been times where, my family, they recognize that I'm about to, flip out on somebody. Right. And, sometimes they'll touch my shoulder.
Oh, yeah.
My family to like say, hey, but I feel it, but I'm so gone into what I want to do to this person, and it's hard for me to like stop at that moment to where like they're touching me, they're saying, hey, calm down, it's all good, let's just leave, but I ignore it.
Do you know what a resentment is?
Sure.
So I learned about resentments in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I didn't know about resentments before. I used to stew on things, man. I used to go home and be like, the nerve of this person, still continue, ruin my whole day, ruin my family's day. When that person just went on with their life and ain't nobody even thinking about you, right? They say a resentment is like drinking poison and hoping the other person dies. I had to learn to live and let go. I had to learn how to make amends. When I was wrong, promptly admit it, apologize. That has helped me. Like if I flip out, which I do, apologizing afterwards. Sure, my wife doesn't want to hear it. She ain't ready for it. But, I'm doing it for myself to take away the poison, to take away that fire, the flame, right? As opposed to putting more gasoline on it.
Yeah, I know exactly what that's like too. Like I'll go sit in the garage and stew on something.
That's bad, bro. That's bad. That's poison.
Yeah.
That you're feeding the monster.
Right. The best thing for me to do is kind of just like go and apologize, or
apologize.
Give.
I mean, I don't know if you're a spiritual person or whatever, but I mean, I give them to God and just continue mission.
Right.
And just keep pushing.
Right.
But that takes work. None of this is easy, bro. Even this conversation that me and you are having right now, we didn't get here overnight.
No.
None of this is easy. So if anybody's still out there struggling, it doesn't look like this in the beginning. It's raw. It sucks. There's setbacks. There's fucking there's one step forward, 3 steps back.
Yeah, definitely. That's why this conversation is so important for those out there who are seeking some answers or some help.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
What advice or insights would you offer to individuals currently working in high-stress professions who may be experiencing symptoms of PTSD or struggling with their mental health?
Take care of yourself. Take care of your mind, your body, and your soul. Take care of yourself. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, that's just a job. It's just a job. It doesn't define you. It doesn't characterize you. It puts food on the table, period. The money goes in your bank. You show up, the money goes in your bank, right? Don't take things This is what sucks, Ron. The whole don't take things personal. Back in prison and probably in your days, they used to say everything's just business. It's all business. Well, things took a turn for the personal, man. Nowadays, things are really trying to, the wardens are taking your jobs, are firing you. That becomes personal because now you can't feed your family. Don't stop doing activities that you used to once enjoy doing, because that's going to stop, right? Walking out in the park, taking your kid to go play catch, going to amusement parks, going to the beach, having a picnic, the little things, man, walking your dog, going on a date with your spouse. And I know the stress. Trust, if anybody knows, I know the stress, I know the exhaustion, but you have to keep that. You have to water that family life, right? You have to water your spiritual life, your, yoga, weightlifting, sightseeing, freaking traveling, a hobby, building things with your hands. You can see what I'm saying is get yourself out of that and out of it, man. And if you're going through something, seek the help. Yeah. There's a big misconception as far as if I reach out for help because of my mental health, they're going to take my guns away. They're going to, put you on a 5150 hold. As long as you don't say, I mean, no, it's not that. It's that, trust me, you can get help without, I did it. You can get help without losing it all. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? Like, there's actually people that want you to get better. There's a lot of people that want you to get better.
Right.
Everybody's hurting. You know, everybody's going through something, man. A lot of people hide it better than others. Some people mask it. Everybody has something going on. And COVID did a number on people, man. The isolation, kids wouldn't be able to go to school.
Yeah. Yeah. That was cakewalk for people like me, you know,
Yeah,
isolation.
right. No,
It
for
was,
sure.
you
For
know.
sure.
But you mentioned about separating yourself from the job. I like that idea, and that's basically, where you're just realizing, hey, man, I have a outside life from this job here, and I got responsibilities out here, and so to continue doing that when you get home from work probably would definitely help you from just falling deeper into that cycle within the job. So, can you discuss the importance of raising awareness about mental health challenges within the context of law enforcement and corrections?
I think the importance is like, let's keep it real. The majority of the people that sign up, whether it's for money or benefits, I think ultimately they want to do some good. They want to serve, right? They want to protect. There's that calling. There's that, hey, here's an opportunity to do something right, to give back. But that's not for everybody. That's not always the case. You do have bad apples, but once you assume the role of a law enforcement officer, you're gonna see the forest for the trees or the trees for the forest, man. You're gonna see the public perception of you. You're gonna see the griminess on the inside. You're gonna see the mistreatment. And then you're gonna realize, like, damn, this isn't what I signed up for. This isn't all rainbows and butterflies, you know. I wanted to be the hero. I wanted to be, the Sherlock Holmes, but there's so much elements to this. There's so many variables, and that will take its toll, man. That will eat you alive. So now you're lost. Now something that you started off with, what you thought was a purpose, you're getting bombarded from all sides. Like, man. And then when I was a young CO, I found some dope, heroin, good amount, and visiting, caught them red-handed. They were passing it in a Cheeto bag, and my sergeant let them go. I was a new CO, let them go. Well, the dude went to the hole, but the female got to walk.
Mhm.
And I got some Chinese food right after work, and she was serving my Chinese food. Man, she went straight to work after the visit. So when I told the sergeant, I said, how come she didn't go to jail? And he's like, oh, you didn't get that interaction on video camera. Uh, I I said, but I saw them do it. And I'm a peace officer. I got my word. He's like, your word's no good. It's not going to hold up in the court of law. I'm like, the hell? So that just kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. After that, I never found no dope again. But you can see how that discourages you. And you can see how, like I said, man, I never found no dope after that again. Right? It
Right.
got flushed here and there, disappeared, got rid of it. But I didn't, go through the motions, because you would just be wasting your time with all the paperwork, and kind of takes away from what you had hoped for
And believed for so long.
or visioned. Yeah. So
Yeah,
that'll destroy people, man. That'll eat people alive.
that's interesting. And that
Not just
happens a
that,
lot.
not just that, bro. Like getting injured on the job, right? Let's say you get in a staff assault. Let's say you get beat up, stabbed. You really think your captain's going to be there asking how you are by your bedside? Absolutely not. They're not. Your phone's not going to ring. You're going to
Mm.
be left alone. That's why, me personally, I made it a point to go to Jack in the Box and take those cops an Oreo cookie shake at the emergency room. I would do that, because I wanted them to know, hey, man, at least somebody cares. At least somebody cares. I know all these other assholes don't care, but it's not for nothing.
Man,
It,
it
it
really cutthroat.
dude, you go out on workman's comp, and your phone's never gonna ring. They don't. You're just a number.
Why is that? Why don't they, I mean, like, there's no brotherhood amongst them?
They say there's brotherhood, man. Like you can have like softball tournaments between. Okay. You want to say brotherhood? Yeah, you'll have a softball tournament, but like if one guy's gonna be screwing his friend's wife, is that really brotherhood? You know what I mean? Come on. And I'm just keeping it real, man.
Yeah, 100.
So it's important to look after yourself because if you don't, nobody will.
Man, that's really deep, bro. That's really deep, man. And it's sad.
Yeah, we are getting deep, man, but I like it.
Okay, cool, cool, cool.
I like it.
I'm kind of I'm kind of like, wow, man, a lot of this is hitting me because I really didn't, I can only assume, you know what I mean, from the outside. And my
were,
dad was like you guys, he would not talk.
were your assumptions correct? Were you like, oh, I do see that, or
The inmates will talk, of course, oh, they're doing this, they're doing that, but you don't really know, because like you said, you guys don't do nothing right in front of us. You guys keep
correct?
yeah, so it's just a rumor. But I mean, but then when you see a lady CEO who's young, who just started not too long in CDC, ends up committing suicide in the
Yeah.
parking lot, you realize, okay, there's something going on here.
So I got current correctional employees that watch me and hear me, and they tell me, "Hey, thank you, thank you." I get the DMs, the emails, thank you for speaking on that. Yeah, I did experience that. They're not looking at me like, "Hey, why are you out there telling our business, putting our business out on the tier?" They're like, "Hey, man, I did experience that. Like, damn, bro, you're keeping it real. Like, it is grimy in there, man. Thank you." And I
Wow.
tell them, just make another plan, figure something out, just get yourself out of a jam if you're in one.
Yeah. All right. So let me ask you, what initiatives or efforts are you currently involved in to support individuals dealing with trauma, PTSD, or related issues? Just YouTube or any other organizations?
So right now, YouTube. In the past, I have participated in the Wounded Warrior Project for the military. I was a peer mentor for that. Kind of haven't worked with Wounded Warrior in a few years. I have also gone to the VA hospital in La Jolla where I went through my inpatient rehab. I went to a 28-day inpatient rehab for my alcoholism while I was a CO. And from time, oh, as a matter of fact, yesterday, good thing you reminded me. Every year I do a thank you card and I take it to them. And I say, thank you for what you guys do here. I hit 13 years. Here's my phone number. If you guys ever want me to come and speak to the current patients in the rehab, I will. And I've done that plenty of times, which you just reminded me. I got to go. So do that. So I go over there. And like you said, man, I tell them, look, I'm coming back into the trenches with you guys. I was sitting right there. I have 13 years sobriety now. I have a daughter. I've ran a marathon. I've traveled to Paris. I've traveled to Normandy, Germany, all as a result of sobriety and getting help, man. When before I couldn't see the bottom of a 40, I was
Mhm.
bad. I was extremely bad. Just sharing my story,
That's
um,
good.
talking to people in the DMs. Dude, people tell me they're going through something. They shoot me their number. I'll talk to them for 30 minutes, an hour. And
Man, no, that's good. I
just
appreciate that.
cause.
Yeah, yeah. Man, that's definitely cool, man. I really appreciate
And
that.
hey, from all walks of life, Ron. I mean, formerly incarcerated, from all walks of life. Anybody going through something, we just chop it up, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to shoot you my number.
Yeah, for sure, dude. Shoot it to me in the email.
For sure, man. So, I know you're on YouTube, but you mentioned that people can contact you or whatever. Where would you want them to contact you and get a hold of you?
On Instagram, it's Hector __ Bravo. You can just add me or drop a DM. But my email is tormenttactical@gmail.com. And I say that because I mean if my email pops up, I read it. Not I'm so busy, but I can get back to you on the email. As far as mental health awareness and substance abuse, um, and I'll reiterate it. You didn't have to go to war to suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. It clearly states post-traumatic. It can be you can be a victim of a sexual assault, a car accident victim, verbal abuse, physical abuse. Uh, Trauma is trauma, man. It doesn't matter how small or how big. If it affected you, then and you're feeling a certain way. Seek the treatment. It's you'll thank yourself later, man, for
Hmm.
sure, because hurt people, and I've heard that before. And
Yeah.
I used to hurt people when I was hurting really bad. Now I'm all about helping people and being selfless. You'd be amazed at the blessings you get when you put your hand out to help people, man. It comes back to you tenfold.
Yes, sir. Man, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you joining me on 30 to Life. It's been
Hell
an
yeah.
honor. I'm grateful to have you on, and you have a blessed day, brother. Y'all already know what time it is. Stay the fuck out of trouble.